Hello. Move that. Hello, Jason, what's up? And let's get into it straight away because we've got quite a bit to cover and I'm aiming to be on for about half an hour before I then go and get ready for the Premier League games tonight, as I've got to do some analysis work for a few of them. So, what's up, Jason? Anybody else in the chat as well? Please do drop a like if you are in the stream. I'm going to quickly refresh this. Nice. Right. Let's talk about Fofana to begin with, because the press conference today, Maresca did mention Fofana, mentioned a few, the likes of Reece James, and then he went into Fofana and said that Fofana is going to be, speaking of Reece James, big up in the chat. He said that Fofana is going to be out for at least the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll have some, at least the next few games, and we're going to hopefully have some more news on Fofana in the coming days. So hopefully it's not as bad as some would say. He did post on his Instagram the other day after the game that due to these injuries and like the long time off last season, these sort of injuries can occur, these smaller injuries, and they may stack up a little bit throughout the season. I'll get to that in a second. But hopefully it means he returns at some point during this festive run. However, without Fofana in the team, we of course have to talk about who's going to take that role, how Chelsea are going to sort of almost replace him in-house. Now, the question is, this is how we played the other day. I do expect Gusto to start against Southampton. We're going to talk about that in a separate issue. Gusto, however, would be the right back. So just for now, we're just going to... This is more so not for Southampton. This is just talking about the future and how the team might play. With Fofana out of the team, it leaves this right centre-back role. Gusto is going to be inverted into here, maybe even inverted into one of the 10s. That's where we're more likely to see Gusto. And this is what Jason said. Could Gusto play as a right centre-back in possession? In possession, I think he could. That would obviously mean Cucurella then pushes up on the other side. And it would also mean Colwell is out on this side. So that, in that case, I'm assuming you're meaning toss in to do this and essentially create this in possession, which I don't hate. But I do think having Cucurella in this left centre-back role has been so beneficial for Chelsea's rest defence this season. If you haven't seen the video talking about the game at the weekend, then I do suggest that you go and watch that, because it speaks about the rest defence and why it's important to have Cucurella in this sort of area here. And I don't really want to change that dynamic of these two, in the central centre-back and the left centre-back. Gusto, I'm happy inverting. So at this point, I am looking and thinking, if you're going to replace Fofana, I do just think that you bring in a right centre-back who's going to play right centre-back on the ball. And yes, somebody has put, like you said, expected to be Gusto, tossing, Cole, Cucurella. And if it works out like this, with Toss in there, I think that's fine either way. I think the other thing to realise is that because it ends up at times, especially against Southampton, it could end up at times where both of these players are pushed up high, trying to suffocate, because Southampton play a lot of small passes in their own half, a lot of short distance, and Chelsea will look to suffocate. This could work in the sense of two centre-backs here, Caicedo just covering that ground, and then you got both inverted full-backs just to sort of suffocate that middle of the pitch. And then again, you'd have these two. One can go wide, one can stay inside, and it's a bit more dynamic with the movements between the players. Do I expect Tosin to start? Is the question, and I want to sort of put this to you guys. Who would be your Fofana replacement? Because I've said this to begin with, and no, I don't want it to be disaster either, James. No, I do not. But Badiashile, in my opinion, seems to be the next sort of centre-back behind Colwell and Fofana in terms of a in terms of just the centre-back pecking order, right? And somebody's just put here, for me, Gusto right centre-back, Cole central centre-back, Badiashile left centre-back. Personally, don't like Tosin's attributes for a wide centre-back, but I'm willing to test it against Southampton. Yeah, that's fair. I do agree with that. I prefer him as a central. Would Disasi starting lead to the least amount of disruption in the team? Would it? Possibly. Just because he would do the exact same role as Fofana. So yeah, that is possible. And honestly, in terms of his carrying ability in the Conference League, it's less the defensive, but he does probably add the most carrying ability in this wide area, which is what Fofana gives us on his right foot. So that's something, but I just think he's way too telegraphed and he also has way too many defensive issues. I would expect it to be. We'll get into the Southampton one in a minute, but I think Badiashile, like I said, I think he is the main guy in terms of replacing Fofana for minutes and getting those minutes into the belt. And I agree. Let's go back to this message because I agree. The Fofana injury confirms the need for another right centre-back option. You've never watched Anselmino, but barring him being incredibly good for his age, I would be nice to see a new right centre-back join. I do agree. And I've said the entire time, if Fofana can't stay fit, and this one's different because it's not the same knee, and it depends how long he takes to recover. And if he comes back fairly nicely and it works well, that's fine. The other option that would have been nice to have is a Josh Achempong because he could have done this role perfectly, and that is the perfect player to sort of have in backup to Fofana. Gives you pretty much the same traits that you want on and off the ball, and that would give him minutes midweek and when this happens to Fofana in the actual Premier League, etc., for like extending his minutes across a season. And then you get Fofana in the team when he's not, and Acheampong he's the backup because he is younger and that is a route for him to get into the squad. So that would have been ideal. However, that's not the case, which means we have to find another option. And we'll have to see where we're at in January. If Acheampong isn't signing a deal, then I agree. I think a right centre back who can play right back, basically what Vega is on the left, over on the right, would be ideal. And Disasi has sort of been that in the Conference League team, but you just want somebody of a bit more quality to do that. So it will be interesting to see. And obviously, Reece, when he's fit, he could have done this role perfectly too as a right centre back, and it could have been a bit different. Chelsea could have started. That could have meant Tosin goes central centre back, Colwill and Reece, and then Cucurella could have inverted, and it might have worked a little bit better. Augusto, vice versa. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with Fofana. I think it's a massive loss. I don't think people realise how big of a loss it actually is to have Fofana out of the squad because I think what he gives you is just so much dynamism in terms of how he can sort of press the ball. He can carry on this outside. But then when we go man for man and it's Cole sort of as that defensive presence and Chelsea go man for man in most of these areas here, got these two players pushed up. Fofana can arrive in these spots to win the ball, and then he can also recover. So he's got both of these big movements in him because he's quick, he's powerful, he's good in the air, and he's just a strong runner in that sense. And he's just he's just a monster. So I think we're really going to miss that recovery speed and also just that aggressive tenacity out of the duel because Cucurella gives us it on this side. And Fofana has been giving us it from the right side. So somebody has to come in and do this. And Badiashile has shown that he is willing, when Cole's behind him, and I think that's why we've seen the best out of him, is when Badiashile's come into the team in the first team, rather than in, say, in the Conference League team. When he comes into the first team, he's a little bit more, because he's got Colwell here, he is a little bit more aggressive and pushing into these areas. Now, of course, the obvious sort of issue here is we'd have three left footers across the back three on the ball because Gusto would be inverting some elsewhere, even here or up the pitch. So yes, you have three left footers. The angle bias isn't brilliant, but Cole's so good on both feet that he would still be able to find those passes on either foot through into these spots. And Cole was just a maniac on the ball in that sense. So that wouldn't worry me as much. Where's this? So there is that. What would you guys say? Leave it in the chat now. Who would be your number one sort of pick to replace Fofana in the side. And the thing is this is for the Christmas period, and realistically, we're going to see a few different things, right? We're probably going to see a few for Badiashile, a few for Tosin, and then it just depends, doesn't it? Like how Chelsea sort of navigate the minutes, because it's been working that that it had been Fofana, Colwell, and Kukurea starting as that back three in the league, and then in other games it had been, for example, it would be Badiashile, Tosin, and Disasi with Vega inverting. So you sort of had two back threes, whereas now if one of Badiashile, Tosin is in this sort of starting team, who starts to get double their minutes and who can handle it, and it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics that Maresca brings across. Reese, I agree with this. Mosquera and Thomas Araujo are brilliant options for that role. So yeah, 100%. And yeah, you think Benoit. Tosin hasn't really gotten minutes in the Prem since his performance at Anfield. Yeah, Tosin, he's good at certain. I do still think he's an astute bit of business for the price obviously being free. And he adds a little bit of leadership to the group, and I do actually think he's got qualities on the ball. And I do think, was it the Bournemouth game? It was in one of the games he came on. He made a huge difference to the way we were building up from the back, because we were really struggling to get out. We was getting forced down this side with Disasi, and we was really getting pinned onto the right side, and we were struggling. I think it was the Bournemouth game. Tosin coming on actually changed the game. So I think he's a good sort of dynamic player to have, but it just depends on how we're going to play each game. And I think Maresca keeps really pumping that into the media, is that the players we pick for each fixture is based on the game plan, and no game plan is the same. The framework is often very similar, but traits in each game are important, and what you're going to ask for from each player differs every single game. Dream would be Josh, but realistically, I'd give it to Benoit. Yeah, don't disagree. Badiashile as well, yeah. Do you really think Axel can play that role? He isn't a great passer, but Wes wasn't either. Axel can carry and help on dead ball situations. I do think Disasi can play it, and if it's a short-term fix, then I'd understand it, because it gives you a right foot on that side. Purely the carrying, I think Disasi does give you the most Fofana-like. It's not as good as Fofana, but it gives you the most Fofana-esque ability to carry in this space on this plane here, like this sort of arrow. But defensively, just worries me more than the others. So I think Badiashile is the next in line. I will say that, but I don't disagree that Disasi could do a job here for one or two games, and I think we are going to see it over this. It's now going to be about how does Maresca manage it, and do we see a mixture of Tosin, Disasi, and Badiashile all partnering Colwell, who we know is going to be a statement figure in this team, in the A team, however you want to call it, the Premier League side. How are we going to sort of address this right side? That's going to be the interesting thing to sort of look out for tomorrow. I would start Disasi. If he can't play against last place Southampton, then he's not good enough. That is an ideal game for that, and that's true. There's a good chance he starts tomorrow purely for that reason. Yeah, we're going to get into the team in a second. He had such a calming effect against Bournemouth. Yeah, he really did. Tosin was huge in that game, 100%. Axel on the ball gives you a good alternative, but off the ball, he's naturally a cover defender. Yeah, I agree with that. He's not as aggressive off the ball. He sort of retreats a little bit, and obviously he can be aggressive, but it depends on sort of who he's got with him. And Colwell was probably the best man for that, in terms of to have a little bit of cover for when that man jumps, sort of like those duo movements. So I'm not sure. Vega over Disasi. Vega is on obviously a left centre back, but he could play that role for sure. But like I said, I think if you're going to do that anyway, I think it's Badiashile. Where are we? For me, the Warriors, if he was isolated, like we saw Fofana against Watkins in wide areas, yeah. Wide defending, yeah. Literally defending wingers almost. Yeah, Disasi would be big for set pieces. Hello, Daniel Knight, as well in the chat. If you are watching, I'm going to quickly check. We've got 32 on YouTube. We've got 142 on Twitter. Please do drop a like, because we're trying to hit. I'm doing daily content on the channel now, every single day up till Christmas. That includes either a stream, a video, or a stream or a video. There's nothing else for it. But one every single day, and we're going to try to hit at least 1,000 views on every single one, and obviously just as many likes as possible, and just really try and take it to that next level before we set those New Year goals. So every single person in this chat, if you could just drop a like, that would really, really help out going into next year. And sort of growing the channel as we want to. Hopefully, going to have some good guests on the channel this week as well. Got a few sort of nice videos already planned for the Tottenham game because that's quite a big one. Got a few content creators that we can speak to on the Tottenham side of things. Obviously, I'll do the Chelsea side of things, and we'll have a bit of fun with those types of videos. So that should be really good. Right, let's do the Southampton team because I'm really interested what people think we're going to see in this game because this is the first time that we've had it. This is the first Premier League midweek of the season. This is the first time that we're going to have 2 Premier League games in the space of 3 or 4 days. So really don't know. Fantastic, keep growing. Thank you, Reese, and you're doing a great job. Thank you, Grayson. Thank you very much. Jackson 1 yellow card away from suspension. Neto as well. So this is going to be interesting because we don't know how we're going to see this sort of transformation and rotation from what Maresca is going to want to do because we've been seeing very large rotation. Obviously, we've been seeing pretty much the entire teams flipped over from midweek to weekend games. So instantly, I'm going to say Lavia isn't going to play. I don't think Lavia is going to play. Again, I might be wrong. I don't think Lavia is going to play. Fofana isn't going to play, but I don't think he'd have played anyway. Those two are 2 players that they're not going to play 2 games, and obviously Reese as well. But again, he's out as well. Same as Fofana. Those 3 players, they're going to be 1 game a week. Okay, so we're going to leave them there. Now, this could genuinely be anything because he could stick with the idea of Jorgensen's going to play because it's 1 game in, 1 game out. I think he's going to stick with Sanchez. I think he's going to do it competition based. So I think the fact that Premier League, I think he's going to stick with Sanchez. So I'm going to leave Sanchez in goal. The back line, I think Colwell's going to stay in. Cucurella could stay in, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Vega. And again, I wouldn't be surprised. This could be anyone, like I said. This could be Badiashile, this could be Tosin, this could be anyone. Let's say Badiashile, but this could genuinely be Tosin, Disasi, anyone. Then I'm going to think, and then I think Gusto's going to start right back. Okay, so we'll sort of line it up like this. I think Gusto's going to start right back. What else we got here? Palmer false 9, Felix and Kunku left wing 10. That's what you think. Are we playing Kunku up front because I don't want to risk Jackson? Yeah, I agree. Don't play Neto. Yeah, we're going to get to that, Daniel, because we're going to get to the forward line now. So I think Caicedo will play. I think without Lavia, I think you have to play Caicedo. And I think Enzo will play. So I think that's going to be the 2 midfielders. Now, up the pitch is where it gets a little bit interesting because, like many have said, I think Felix is going to play this game. I think Nkunku is going to play this game. I think Madueke is going to play this game. And I think Mudrik's going to play this game to the point where I wouldn't be surprised. And this is a big call because Cole Palmer, obviously everybody else, if it was our choice, Palmer would start. But I wouldn't be completely shocked because, again, sticking on the theme of rotation, if we saw something like this. Now, the other option is Mudryk doesn't start, Felix starts on the left, but then you don't really have an overlapping defender, so then that would have to be Cucurella. So it's interesting. And this is what you've said, completely agree, would rotate the full front 4. And yes, you're right, Elias. They don't have Dibbling, they don't have Downs, they don't have Harwood Bellis. This game was a must-win either way, but I agree. That makes it even more of a must-win if it wasn't already. Too many changes in defence, don't like it. And again, I get that, but Gusto, I can't see him not playing this game. This right centre back has to change. Maybe this stays as Cucurella. If, to be honest, if it probably does stay as Cucurella for leadership reasons. Okay, so Vega maybe doesn't play. Let's put Cucurella there because I think that is probably more realistic. And yes, as you've said, we'd rather just start Palmer and kill off the game. In an ideal world, he probably would. But I also think it's really harsh on Felix to not get minutes in this game. So it'd probably be Mudryk making way if not. But then again, it's more so from what I saw the other day. Enzo walking off the pitch with Mudryk sort of arm around him and talking. It seems like he was instantly looking to coach him ready for this game. So I'm not sure. I feel like we might see something like this in the front 4. Whether we do or not, who knows? Would you risk Cole Palmer tomorrow saving for the? I would. I don't know if it's my choice. Honestly, what I'd do. And you don't think he'd make more than 4 or 5 changes? I mean, with this team that I've done, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 changes. But Madueke, like it depends. How, like they're also not drastic changes because Madueke has been in the first team anyway. Gusto has been in the first team anyway. So if you're talking like drastic changes, you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, really. So I agree with what you're saying, and that's why I think there'll be a little bit of stability, maybe with Cole and Kukureya, and then again the pivot sort of staying the same. So yeah, we'll see. I think we don't see much rotation in the Prem. It's so important this season. Palmer, Nico, Caicedo, Cole will probably play, and again, I wouldn't be surprised. Cuckoo's too important. I think we should rest to protect him. Yeah, and I agree. I think Vega is more than good enough to get the minutes. So for sure, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't mind Vega starting over Kukureya. And Kunku up front would do. You would do. Yeah, that's what I've got here too. I think that's probably likely. I'd save Jackson. I'd make sure Jackson is available for Spurs because I think he's 1 yellow card off as well, and I would not want to risk that. I think it'd be Gusto, Benoit, Noni, and Felix coming in. I think Noni is a guaranteed starter in this game. Felix, I think's likely. Gusto, Benoit, yeah, I agree with that. So you think that? So I'm assuming you think Palmer maybe stays in and Felix goes out to the left. I'm assuming. Is that what you think, Ayo? We need Neto and Jackson for Spurs game. Yeah, I agree, Daniel. I agree. I'd keep them both ready. The point of our squad building is the squad rotation. Yeah, for sure. Jackson going off in the 70th minute makes me think he plays. Yeah, possibly. I would just be worried about that yellow card. I would just be very worried about that yellow card. Ayo says, think Jackson starts this one for the press, as Southampton like to play out from the back, and Kunku's not particularly great in the press. Plus Nico, yeah, so you were saying, like Kelvin said, that he come off early. And the press is going to be very important against Southampton because, like you've rightly said, they play very close in their own half. They will literally split their centre backs really deep, and they will look to get the ball in these areas. Chelsea, like we saw against Villa, it will all be about lock off one side of the pitch and then swarm these areas, lock it to one side, and then try to swarm in here. That will be the plan against Southampton, especially because they won't look as much to go direct. They very much want to play through this side of the press with short passes. So a lot of our chances tomorrow I expect to come from good pressing moments rather than our own build-up, which is, again, different to the last few games that we've had. But again, it's important to adapt and it's important to know where you can get at a team in their weaknesses. I think Southampton are one of those teams where if it comes together, it looks great, but there's definitely a chance for you to earn to get goals and earn them without having to overly exert yourself on the ball, doing a bit more off-ball work in order to attack almost. Neto's 1 yellow away. Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't start him as well. Don't think Nico will rest because why wouldn't you just take a tactical yellow against Villa and get the 5 yellows out of the way? I don't know. This sometimes it's not as simple as sort of like the tactical yellow because obviously they don't want to get. You don't want to make it so obvious that you're going for a tactical yellow. Some refs just won't even allow it. So I kind of get what you mean, and maybe they want him to be available from the bench in case it gets really dodgy, in case it's 0-0 or 1-1 and we need to push. So they want him maybe available. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing the team because I think it will be a little bit of a mixture. Think we can afford to rest players since it's Southampton. They're missing key players. Yeah, for sure. What about Guiu starting? He presses a lot. Guiu could. That's not like he could be, but again, Nkunku. If Nkunku doesn't get a start, if Jackson doesn't start and Nkunku doesn't get a start, and we started Guiu up front and Nkunku didn't play, that like for me that's almost just telling Nkunku that you're not really a part of this squad fully. We prefer Cole Palmer and Felix in the 10, and we prefer Jackson and even Guiu as a striker. So I think if Jackson doesn't play, Nkunku has to get the minutes. But I do think Guiu would have been helpful in this game purely for pressing intensity. But the only other thing with him pressing from the front is Guiu is a bit more of sort of a erratic pressing player, and it's a good that he's got the qualities, but because he's young, he's maybe not as sort of like timely with how he arcs his run to lock off one side of the pitch again, go watch my video from yesterday to sort of know what I'm talking about in terms of the pressing scheme that we used. But when we lock off one side of the pitch like this, sometimes Guiu isn't as sort of clever with how he arcs that run to lock that off, and he can sometimes get played through because he's a bit more erratic with his movements. But again, he's got so many good pressing qualities. I do really like Guiu, but I do think he needs a loan to sort of like hone everything in. Southampton got players out as well, yeah. Downs, Dibbling, and Harwood-Bellis all unavailable. And then Ogachukwu can't play either. Do you think Southampton will respect us and sit deep, or they'll try to play through us? Southampton will play. They've played every game I've watched in this season. They will play. It's not to say they won't respect us, and they do sit deep anyway, as a byproduct of what they do, because they do look, like I said, they look to play a lot in their own half. It's not sort of very expansive in terms of how they don't make the pitch look huge. It's more so little tight knit passes, a structure that keeps players in tight distances. So it's not going to be an open block by no means. But they will definitely try and play. I'm absolutely certain of that. Hope Maresca knows Jackson Neto. Yeah, he'll definitely know, Daniel. He'll definitely know that they're on away. These are sort of things that they'd have known they'd have been watching these things 3-4 games ago before us lot even start to look into it. That their teams, that they will be tracking every single possibility for that sort of stuff. Quickly refresh the stream. We've got 22 likes. We've got 35 watching, so we should at least be at 35 likes if we can get it to that. Please do drop a like, because like I say, it really does help out as I try to improve the content and move things forward. What about Vega starting as a centre-back, stepping into midfield to form a back three of Cuckoo, Cole, Gusto on the ball? Could it work? Sure. But I think if you're going to start Gusto anyway, I think you just invert him. Like I say, I understand some people don't like it. I do. I think he's really good in there for both counter-pressing reasons and just his technical capacity on the ball. And I think, especially like, even in the number 10, I want to see that again. Like, a lot of people don't, and I'm not saying for this game it's what I'd do for this game, but I don't want this to be completely chucked out the window, that sort of movement, and I don't think it will be. I do not think it will be, because I think Maresca knows that despite Gusto missing a few sort of final balls and big chances in front of goal, ultimately the tactic itself was working. Yeah, Ramsdale's obviously out as well. Bednarak and Lallana, I didn't know them two were out, but Ramsdale's definitely out as well, yeah. How are you feeling generally about the top four landscape? Villa, Newcastle United maybe feel a bit off it. Brighton and Spurs looking like main contenders. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, I personally think that we're in very good stead for top four. But I think you're right in terms of the category and the grouping that you've gone for there. Villa, Newcastle United being slightly out of it. Brighton and Spurs probably being the main contenders alongside obviously ourselves. And then you've got sort of Liverpool, City, Arsenal ahead of the pack. But then City obviously slipping at the minute as well, but I don't expect that to be sustained over the whole season. How did Maresca and Leicester do against Southampton last year? They smashed them last year. Smashed them. I think it was like 4-0, 3-0 maybe. But it was they didn't struggle in that game. When do yellow card reset in the Premier League? I think it's after the halfway point. Actually, no, I'm not sure. No, it might not be that. I'm not sure. Game week 19. So maybe it is. Also, like Gusto inverting, but can't get over having a left footer as a right centre back. Yeah, I understand. Is that 5-0? Is that your prediction for tomorrow? Ayo, is that your prediction? Oh no, sorry, that's last year's result. Yeah. We're not in a title race, we're in a race for top four. Yeah, and I think it's better to not sort of get into that title race. Like, I understand it's fun, but I think right now, I think we just sort of play this out. We've got a really nice run of fixtures. Let's get through this run of fixtures. For me, I'm not looking any further than that Tottenham game, because if we can get something out of that Tottenham game, if we can beat Tottenham, beat Southampton tomorrow and beat Tottenham on Sunday, then I'll start looking at the run of fixtures after that and thinking, if we have a little nice run here, then let's assess after this sort of Christmas period. Then let's assess where we are in the league, and if at that point it still looks good, then I'm willing to have the title like conversation. That's not to say we're in it or we're not in it, but that's when I'll be willing to have that conversation. Results last season were 5-0 and 4-1. What shape do you think will go against Southampton back five? Yeah, that's a good point. Because of how they press, I do think that we're more likely to see this sort of diamond shape. Again, I think that because it will be a sort of a 3-1 base with, oh, did that the wrong way around, with Casado there, Enzo here, Gusto, and then Felix or Palmer, whoever. Because then, either way, these guys can attack those channels here. This can become a bit of a 3-1, and then if they take their man away with them, that opens up the space for the wide carries as well. So I do expect to see something a little bit reminiscent of a diamond. That doesn't mean at times it might not look slightly asymmetric with one deeper, one pushed on, almost like an asymmetric box like that. But I do think that if you was to try and shape it up, it would look maybe a little bit more like this. Oh, hang on. What is this doing? Here we go. Why talk what's going on about Chelsea being in a title race? Because it's the chat, isn't it? At the minute, we're doing well, and it's easy to talk about, so it makes sense. I'm sorry about this, Ronaldo. I don't know what is this in. I don't know what language this is in, Portuguese or something. But if you could put it into I can't translate it right now on stream, unless there's a button for it. I'm not sure. Oh, hang on. Might have. Oh, there we go. Do you think Chelsea will go to the market in January for a right centre back if Achimpong doesn't renew? I think we can go to 3-6-5 or 6-1 tomorrow without Mudryk like Leicester. So you mean without Mudryk being Felix out here and then Kukurea overlapping? Possibly. Isn't it possible for the Prem to acquire a fifth CL spot? Yes, it is. Apparently, it's really likely with how it's looking at the minute. Do I think we'll go into the market if we don't? If a Achimpong doesn't renew? Possibly. I think they're looking at someone like Araujo anyway. So yeah, I'd say we're more likely, more probable that we do go in, even if he does sign. Yeah. Enzo looked better on the right hand side pocket versus Leicester. I would like to see him there rather than Gusto. But on the flip side, I would like to see Gusto to learn the right hand side pocket and Enzo control him from deep. I like it. The thing is, I liked Enzo in this pocket against Villa because he sort of, again, go watch the video from yesterday. It sort of explains his role more so. But he had this channel was sort of his to control, and he could drop into as far as here to really control the game, and then he could also parade into this player area to almost drag players away with him, and also just connect in this final third. And of course, we saw his goal, which was brilliant. So I like him on that side, and I agree he was good against Leicester on the right as well. But for the sake of Gusto and the team, I think having them in control in these areas, I think that works well for both players. I think we'll see Fofana next year of Reece James as well. Yeah, I mean, them two together is like it's really fun. I said that when he first joined. Does Araujo have the attributes to be a right centre back? Absolutely, 100%. Really good on the ball. Him and Colwell in the same back three. So if you had Araujo here, Colwell and Kukurea, in terms of progressive like passing, outrageous. Doesn't get much better. Really doesn't. Having Colwell and Araujo on the ball, two of the best progressive passers. 100%. Achimpong, and I don't disagree. Achimpong, if Achimpong was going to get minutes, I'd like profile wise, I think he's really special. But I just don't know if Achimpong is going to get given that sort of promise of minutes. And Anselmino is 100% another one to look out for as well. Mosquera or Araujo is so tough because I think Mosquera, a bit like Diamande for me. I think those two, like Diamande and Mosquera, I think they are physical wise. I think their ceiling is beyond anything. I think it's higher than most centre backs. But Araujo gives a little bit more on the ball, and he's got that sort of John Stonesy type. And Maresca has even alluded to having a centre back who can step up at times into the midfield like Stones as another option. He said that, and I think Maresca just wants to cover all profiles, and the sporting directors want to cover all profiles within the team. So Araujo is the most different. If because Fofana is very much the physical, high ceiling esque profile of a Diamande or a Mosquera. What do you think of the idea of selling Gusto and using Santos as our auxiliary right back? I wouldn't use Santos as an auxiliary right back. Maybe you could use Casado at right. I think I made the case the other day that Casado could play that right inverted role and allow Santos more minutes in the team next season. Because on the one hand, absolutely I want Andre Santos part of the team next year. He's so good and I want him to be part of the squad. Would I sell Gusto? Absolutely not. I think, again, Gusto's a ridiculous talent. And I think a few poor sort of decisions in the final third, not even poor games, because I think he's had some good games this season that people have sort of brandished as poor because of the lack of final product. But no, I think Gusto's unbelievable. Signed a right centre back in January, bearing in mind Anselmina and Achimpong are on their way up with Fofana already being here. We'll just do with what we have. What would I do? I'd fast track Achimpong's minutes, and he'd be my backup now. But I appreciate that's not likely. Therefore, I think it's more likely that we do go into the market for somebody. But if it was my choice, I would just fast track Achimpong in that role. Yeah. You would say Mosquera as to be the lack of increases in physicality. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that for sure. Like I say with Diamande, I think that's the physicality sort of improvement that you want as well. They're very similar. Do you think Sancho and Gusto right hand side could work? Both can stay wide, both can tuck in. It could cause some great rotations. It could cause some great rotations. I think that's what Esteban will give you next year in abundance as well. But yeah, it could work, but I do just prefer Sancho on the left. Just gives him better passing angles on his right foot. I just think he's better when he stops and slows the ball down here, and he can sort of wriggle one inside. He can chip one over the top. He can fizz one into the box. I like his angles from that left side and how he sort of manipulates the ball. What is your score prediction for tomorrow? Right, we're good because we're at 40 minutes, and I need to go get some. I've got 25 minutes till the Ipswich game starts, and I need to do some work on it. So I'm going to end it on this. Everybody put your score predictions in the comments. Drop a like and then leave your score prediction in this comment section now. I'm going to say 2-0 Chelsea. Clean sheet again. I'm going to say 2-0 Chelsea. That's my prediction. Everybody leave yours. And whilst you're doing it, you have to drop a like. Otherwise, the score will not happen. We'll try that. See if that works for extra likes. Long term, I'm going to answer these last few questions and then I want some score predictions. There we go. We've got a few here. Long term, do you see one of Enzo Casado leaving for a tall fiscal 6? I don't think any of these guys would leave, Enzo Casado, Cucurella. I just think that what they're trying to do is add maybe some extra profiles on top, so that extra options, right? So Vega he's a different profile to Cucurella. Same with Ugachukwu. I think long term he could be that answer. If he isn't, I think we'll go and sign another defensive midfielder. If we ever sold Ugachukwu, we'd probably sign another physical youngster and see if he can become that. But one that can be part of the squad but doesn't instantly have to take minutes away from Casado, Lavia, Enzo, because they've got physicality, but it's just not the tall physicality that you're talking about. So yeah, right. We'll quickly go through these scores, and then I'm gonna have to go. So 6-0, 3-0, 5-0, lots of clean sheets, which would be amazing. 4-0, Maresca battered Saints last season home and away. 3-0 Chelsea. Can't let our results dictate and screw up the development of youngsters. Yeah, that's fair. So we've got every single person that's left a prediction doesn't think Chelsea are going to concede. So as long as we've hit 30 likes, we're on 26 likes. We need minimum 4 more likes to ensure Chelsea keep a clean sheet. Go and drop a like on your way out because we are going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Tomorrow is going to be a video talking about Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester. And please, everybody that's in this stream, even if you're not, because obviously a lot of you are Chelsea fans, please do for that video, just go over to it, drop it a like, give it a watch. It's only going to be about a 10-15 minute video about how Van Nistelrooy sets up tonight, his first game in charge of Leicester, and just really want to start branching out to a wider community of other fans, bring other people to our channel, not just Chelsea, but obviously we talk so much about Chelsea. It'd be nice to have other fans input in these streams as well, and just all sorts that we can all talk about. And it makes for a lot of fun videos that we can make. So please do show that some support tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we will be back with the Chelsea versus Southampton match review. And then Friday, we've got the Chelsea versus Tottenham preview. So some fun videos coming in the week. My score prediction, Daniel, is 2-0. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5. But I'm just going to be safe and say 2-0. Let's hope 4 more. Why aren't we enough? It is 100% enough. But for me, let's be frank. The more people we get part of the channel, the more money we can make, the more people we can get in, and the more the channel grows, it gives me more time to spend on this. Because at the minute, instead of carrying on for an hour, I've now got to go and watch Ipswich and write up about them for my job as well. So Footy App says 7-0. Imagine that. It could be the 9-0. It could be the annual 9-0 Southampton thrashing that they get every few years. So we could go and deliver them a 9-0. That would be very nice, wouldn't it? But we're going to end it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining. As Come On says here, up the Chelsea. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching. Drop a like. See you guys next time.